Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Ben, and today we're going to be taking a look at dungeon encounters, and it is what I would describe as a minimalistic dungeon crawler by Square Enix, and probably one of the most unique experiences they've ever made, or made in a very long time. I guess you should say. Super underrated, I believe. As you can see, I have about 7 hours into it on my other file here, but today we're gonna start from the beginning. Near a town quiet and peaceful, an otherworldly labyrinth one day appeared. From its depths poured forth countless ravenous fiends. The Lord sent their best and brightest to chart the halls and beat back the horde, but alas, not a single one returned. Bereft of men at arms, but not of hope, the small folk resolved to stand for themselves. One by one, they came to the academy to learn warcraft that they might succeed where others failed, that they might breach the heart of the stronghold and drive the fiends from their lands once and for all. And with that, you are thrust into a party creation. And I apologize if, and I'll just kind of talk through these tutorials so we don't have to really mess with them that much. But just disclosure here, my monitoring of the audio in this seems awfully quiet. I'm actively checking it, so I do apologize if it's a little bit off. But anyway, you can go ahead and select from these that are already highlighted. We'll go ahead and just put kind of the default party here, and you can look and read their different backstories and stuff, which is kind of cool. But again, it's kind of minimalistic. And of course, we could pick one of these other people, and all of these other ones that you see are people that you may find as you're journeying into the labyrinth, which is kind of cool. We won't do the exploration play or anything like that. So basically, the gist of the game is kind of map out each little section, and of course I have the speed higher. The normal speed you walk, let's see if I can, yeah, there we go. So that's like the base speed. But as you play, you're probably going to want to boost it up a little bit. And again, it's very much minimalistic, so you have these numbers that indicate different things. And so if you find a number 6 on a given floor, it's a healing fountain. So you can always kind of count on that. And it's not, and there we go, for charting or mapping 100 tiles, we got 1 ability point, which isn't going to really matter much at this point because I don't think we have any abilities. But one might suspect that it gets a little bit confusing when it's only numbers indicating stuff, but you'll eventually get to the point where you will see so many of these numbers so frequently that you will kind of be able to reference them no problem. Yeah, we don't have any abilities right now, so we're not going to worry about that. I'm going to go ahead and map out this little town section here. And of course, you can buy different stuff at the store, but we don't have any money, so it doesn't really matter. All of these places are different stores. One thing I might want to do, though, I didn't think about this. For the characters that we aren't going to use, let's go ahead and unequip them. I'll kind of explain how the equipment deal works. Just a second. And put characters back in order. This is basically the party I'm using in my main thing, but realistically, there's not a huge difference between, from what I can tell anyway, what characters you use. So just use the ones that you think are aesthetically pleasing. Okay, so let's check out the equipment. Basically how it is, you have two weapon slots. Everybody does, so you can do like a melee or ranged weapon, or you can do a magic spell, or you can have two magic spells. Doesn't really matter. And of course, there's some differentiation between the different weapon types that you have. Like, for example, the hatchet has a higher offensive ceiling. However, it does a random amount of damage, so sometimes it'll do like 1 damage. You got to kind of weigh that, or take that in consideration. Magic's the same way, as you can see here. That has 70, but it's random, or you can do 40. But one thing that's going to gate you a little bit is proficiency points. As you can see on the statistic tab here, that is your indication of how much stuff you can equip, because every item, you can see it says PP cost. That adds up to your proficiency points, and you always have to be under your maximum, or under or at your maximum. So it kind of gates you. If you end up finding something like in a dungeon that's super powerful, you may not be able to equip it immediately, but I actually think it's fine. I think it's a good way to handle things. Anyway, I think our party's good to go, so we'll just go ahead and go to the first dungeon here. This is the Underworld. So that's great. We're already in the Underworld, and we've been recording for 7 minutes. We got our first ability here. While active, battle encounters will be marked on the map. We can go to the ability station and equip that, and now we can see the numbers in black notate the battles here. We won't review the battle play. Just gonna go ahead and do this. And basically how combat works is every enemy, or every character on the field basically has physical defense, magical defense, and health. And essentially, the name of the tune is that you you bring their physical and or magic defense down to 0, and then you can start dealing actual HP damage to them, and whoever does that first wins, basically. So that's kind of what you do. And early on, it's not the most complex thing, and really even later, it's never really super complex, but you will have to weigh decisions, because we got a battle log here that shows you the dropped items and stuff like that, which is nice if you're targeting specific item drops. But it does get to a point where enemies sometimes will reflect certain types of damage, or they are only susceptible to range damage, or they have super high physical defense but no magical defense. And so you got to kind of weigh how you're going to approach it, how you're going to handle it, which I think is cool. And of course, this is an arming sword. That's nice. This is a game that uses ATB, or the active time battle mode. So it's things go in real time. Decision making goes in real time. There are never any stops. So it can get pretty frantic, especially if you're fighting dangerous enemies. And of course, right now I have it on active mode and the highest speed, which is 4. I believe that's the highest. You can also set it to wait mode, much like you could with the older Final Fantasy games. So if you don't want that more frenetic paced action, you don't have to. It's kind of entirely up to you. There's something. All right, we got a battle log there. You see, technically we could sit here and just farm ghosts for a little while and get everybody arming swords, because they're way better than the broadswords. But there's something I find very satisfying, despite, you know, there not being a ton to the graphics themselves and it being very minimalistic. It's very satisfying kind of filling out all these tiles for each floor. And of course you get awarded for doing that. And then you just move on to another floor and you keep doing the same thing. Got another ability. I think that lets us flee. Of course, we can equip that. And of course, the lower and lower that you go, the more complicated and longer and more difficult things get. But overall, I do think this is again, one of the most unique things Square Enix has done in years. And I hate that it took me so long to play this game, because had I played it when it first came out, which I believe it came out last year, I would have loved it. I mean, again, despite the minimalistic approach, got some level ups. As you level up, you get more proficiency points, so now I could go back, let's see, and put this on here. Increases damage dealt to enemies, so that'll make this person's broadsword, instead of doing 30 attack, it'll do 50. Which is neat. But yeah, anyway, you kind of get the idea of how this game works, but I definitely recommend it to people that just like dungeon crawlers in general, so long as you're not turned off by the lack of anything really impressive graphics wise. I just think it's a cool, somewhat chill game to play, because you're just sitting here mapping these different floors. And again, there is some points where you hit where things can get challenging. So, if for example, let's see here, you can see that we have some Lamias that have 0 physical defense. So obviously, it's ideal to you know, take them out with a physical attack. Go. The only thing I'm not a huge fan of is the soundtrack. It's not that it's bad. It actually uses some like classic. I think it's based off some classic tunes and maybe some original tunes also, but it's just not really my thing. But I guess it kind of matches the more minimalistic approach. But anyway, I think that's going to do it for this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a like, consider subscribing. We'll be back with more soon. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.